Uh, but I guess we can move on to Britney Spears' conservatorship.
We're going to turn now to that Britney Spears bombshell. She was breaking her silence in the conservatorship case and saying in a Los Angeles court that she wants her life back. ABC's Kaylee Hartong was outside that courtroom with the very latest on this story. Good morning, Kaylee.
Hey, good morning, Cecilia. This was the most shocking performance of Britney Spears' life. We listened to that virtual hearing right here at the courthouse.
God damn. Performance.
We couldn't see Britney. She only needed to call in to make this plea to a judge to end her conservatorship, and the judge forbid any recordings of the proceedings for us to share with you. But we heard a confident and a determined Britney Spears who wants the world to hear her story.
Britney Spears standing up for herself in an explosive court hearing Wednesday, passionately telling a court she's been exploited, embarrassed, and demoralized by the people behind the conservatorship that's controlled her life and finances for the last 13 years, asking that it be terminated. The 39-year-old pleading with a judge, saying, "I just want my life back." Spears addressing the court for more than 20 minutes, calling the court-ordered conservatorship, which is controlled in part by her father, Jamie Spears, abusive. The megastar saying she was accused of not participating in rehearsals for her Vegas show after disagreeing about a dance move, and accused of not taking medicine that she maintained she'd been regularly taking for years. She says that 3 days after she said she no longer wanted to do the Vegas residency, she was taken off her normal medication and put on lithium, a powerful psychiatric drug, against her will, and later sent away to a rehab program. She says when she called her dad about the decision, quote, "I cried on the phone for an hour, and he loved every minute of it. The control he had over someone as powerful as me, he loved the control."
Would you tolerate your children be watching a gaming charismatic figure they like to propagate and spread reactionary ideology to them under the guise of his likable personality and gaming content? No, because there is a difference between the ideology and the worldview that I talk about and reactionary ideology. Unless you unironically believe that like there is no difference between Nazi ideology and things that I talk about. For example, like, oh, this is just a troll. Why am I responding to it? Yeah. Here's another reason why I ban people like this, because they derail the broadcast specifically so that they can, so they can have like a really selfish moment. So I'm just going to ban them and move on. This is why I ban people, though, not because I can't address their fucking point of view, but because they're just annoying and very selfish, really.
To hurt his own daughter. Spears comparing her experiences to sex trafficking, making anyone work against their will, taking all their possessions away, credit card, cash, phone, passport, and placing them in a home where they work with the people who live with them. She says she's not allowed to ride in a car driven by her boyfriend or make her own decisions about birth control, marriage, or having more children. Since Spears stopped performing 2.5 years ago, Instagram has been the only way fans have gotten glimpses of her life.
And it was really weird. Do you guys remember? I covered this back when like she posted some stuff and it was so scary, dude.
Let you guys know that I am fine. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life.
But Spears says those posts online weren't her true feelings. "I've lied and told the whole world I'm okay and I'm happy. I've been in denial. I've been in shock. I am traumatized. But now I'm telling you the truth, okay? I'm not happy. I can't sleep. I'm so angry, it's insane." Jamie Spears' attorneys have said that the pop star could have asked for the conservatorship to be dropped for years, but she says she didn't know that was an option. In addition to ending the conservatorship, Spears told the court she wants to be able to choose her own attorney and have sessions with a therapist in the privacy of her own home, instead of at an office where paparazzi have photographed her. She could be heard pounding her fists as she told the judge all she hears from her team is no, 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 saying she feels ganged up on, bullied, left out and alone. "I am tired of feeling alone. I deserve to have the same rights as anyone." But her most loyal fans, including members of the Free Britney movement who gathered outside the court, want her to know she's not alone.
It's important just to show our support, our endless support.
I'm in shock. I'm in awe. I'm incredibly proud of Britney. Just the bravery that it took was palpable.
The judge thanked Britney for her statement, saying she knows it took a lot of courage for her to come forward. And after we heard Britney describe the depths of her father's control over her, we only heard from her father through his attorney, who said he is sorry to see his daughter suffering and in so much pain. Mr. Spears loves his daughter and misses her very much. TJ.
All right, Kaylee, thank you so much. I want to bring in our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, here in studio with us, and New York Times senior editor and co-creator of the documentary Framing Britney Spears, Liz Day. Thank you both for being here. Dan, wow. I mean, we hearing this yesterday, hearing from her for the first time. There's this whole Free Britney movement out there. Hearing her, she sounds like a literal prisoner.
This was even more of a bombshell than we expected, right? We came into this wondering how big a deal is it going to be. This was a huge deal, what she said here. And the two things that struck me most were, first of all, the fact that she says she didn't know she could file to end this. That's astonishing, because as the lawyer involved here, I always have said, well, you know, she could always file to end this. And yet now, if this is true, that she didn't know, that's a really big deal. Number two, on the flip side, to some degree, is she repeated again and again that she wanted to end this, but without a medical examination. And, you know, if you want to end this, the way to do it in a faster way is to say, I'll do anything it takes to end this. Let's get the exam done. Let's get this finished. But you can tell she's so frustrated at this point with what she says has happened to her that she's taking that position that wants it to be without any sort of medical exam.
Liz, we can't say wow enough. And we thought we knew so much about this story, partly because of the movie that you helped create. Were you surprised by what you heard in that courtroom?
Okay, before we move on to additional details, obviously some of you don't know what a conservatorship is, so I will mention that. It's a court-ordered it's basically a court order for individuals who cannot take care of themselves and are unable to make their own decisions in instances like when they have dementia or some sort of like other debilitating mental illness or mental disorder. Is that the right word? I don't know. And oftentimes conservatorships are for older people. I think there was there was a movie I watched, I Care a Lot, I think. Was it? Is it called I Care a Lot? That like literally revolved around the actual truth about how fucking horrifying conservatorship cases can be. It was like a dark comedy. It wasn't that great, but you know, it's a decent, relatively satirical approach to how that shit works. And basically, there were two parts to Britney Spears' conservatorship. One was for her estate and financial affairs, and the other was for her as a person. Under the legal agreement, Spears had not controlled her finances since 2008. Jamie Spears is the father of Britney Spears, who was initially in charge of both parts of the conservatorship, but stepped down as his daughter's personal conservator in 2019 because of health reasons. Jody Montgomery, a care professional, replaced him on a temporary basis, but Britney Spears has requested this to be made permanent. There were confidential court records that the New York Times obtained that showed that the pop star had voiced serious opposition to the conservatorship earlier. And they briefly touched on that, like her statements expressing concern, wanting to get out of it, and trying to get out of it numerous times, and not necessarily knowing how she could potentially get out of it. They showed that conservatorship restricted aspects of her life, ranging from who she dated to the color of her kitchen cabinets, to even forcibly putting her on an IUD birth control. She feels that the conservatorship has become an oppressive and controlling tool against her, a court investigator wrote in a 2016 report. The conservatorship had too much control, Spears said, according to the account of the conversation, too much. In November 2020, a judge declined to remove Mr. Spears, but named financial firm the Bessemer Trust as a co-conservator of her estate instead. So, like, the government is literally stepping in to just be like, you know, the dad can still be a part of this, but, you know, we're going to bring in other outside sources onto it. And a month later, the judge extended Mr. Spears' conservatorship until September 2021. Now, you might be wondering why the conservatorship was originally established. That was because Britney Spears was behaving, or started beginning to behave, erratically in 2007 after her divorce from Kevin Federline was finalized and she lost custody of her own two children. There was a series of public incidents, if you recall, if you're old enough to remember. Uh, that's I believe where the "Leave Britney Alone" stuff comes from. Where like she was like, you know, there were people that were raising concerns about her mental welfare. She was making headlines for shaving her head, hitting a photographer's car with an umbrella. In 2008, she was twice admitted to a hospital under temporary psychiatric assessment ruling, including after an incident in which she allegedly refused to surrender her sons in a standoff involving the police. And since then, you know, as I mentioned already, the father had taken over every aspect of her life and basically controlled every aspect of her life, including sending her out to work. You know what I mean? All right. Imagine losing your entire life and children and then being called crazy when you're reacting to your world coming apart. I mean, she definitely was experiencing like episodes, like some kind of episode. I'm not a medical expert, but you know, that wasn't like too far-fetched to state. But does it deserve such a restrictive and overreaching conservatorship like this for as long as it did? No, I don't think so.
Absolutely. I'm still shocked. She had so many jaw-dropping lines. You know, I just want my life back. This conservatorship is abusive. I deserve to have the same rights as anybody does. I'm still floored with how defiant she was and how passionate she was. And for me, I was also most surprised by what Dan said, that Britney said she did not know this entire time, this entire 13 years, she did not know she could file to end the conservatorship. That's unbelievable.
And Dan, as Liz mentioned, those jaw-dropping lines, what about the tone in how she approached all of this? The fact, obviously, she was very passionate, but there was also profanity in this presentation. What impact will that have on the case?
Well, look, I think the profanity just makes it more human, right? I mean, I don't think the judge is going to say, oh, you know, she used curse words, and therefore, I think she's going to come out of this saying, that was real. That was her. That wasn't written by somebody else. That's what she really thinks here. And, you know, judges are human, right? Which is, yes, there's going to be investigators and there's going to be doctors and there's going to be reports. But I think that this account from her is really going to matter to the judge, because this is Britney Spears speaking to the judge. And we'll soon find out what exact impact it's going to have, because she still has to file to end the conservatorship. So that's legal step number one here.
Mm-hmm. Liz, we talk about this Free Britney movement, and so much of it, and look, I'll admit, I used to watch and say, okay, they're fans of hers, they're rooting for her, they want her to be okay. But, you know, I'm hearing folks now talk about, you know what, this is going to bring some attention to the whole conservatorship laws. And so this could be more than just about Britney now.
Absolutely. And I think the fans are feeling really vindicated. You know, for 13 years, everyone has said to them, you know, we haven't heard it directly from Britney herself, you know, dismissing their passions as sort of a conspiracy theory. And now Britney has gone on the record in court and basically backed up a lot of what.
Like, can you imagine having an episode being subjected to a conservatorship where you have no control over your life or your financial assets that you have literally generated, and then having those financial assets straight up fund the continuation of your slavery, like of your legal fucking slavery, in perpetuity, pretty much. You're basically in a prison that you are funding and continuing. Like, there's reports that her lawyer was overbilling her. You know what I mean? Like, and not necessarily doing a good job defending her, or you know, extending the conservatorship pretty much. Never told her that she could get out of it. I'm being serious and no disrespect, but why are you talking about this? Like, who cares in the least disrespectful way, says Stalin's Milk. I mean, this is a pretty huge problem, dude. Like, you don't consider this to be a grave injustice? Like, I don't understand. Just because it's Britney Spears, you don't think that, like, someone who is famous can't face like this grave injustice. I mean, think about it this way: if this can happen to Britney Spears, who is like visibly in the public spotlight, and this kind of exploitation can occur for someone like Britney Spears, then think about what happens to your fucking grandparents and shit. You know what I mean? So many people left behind. Think about how this could happen to an otherwise like someone who's in an otherwise like very unfortunate situation.
What they've been saying all along.
Wow. It is just really, really something. We can't stop talking about it. Liz, Dan, thank you both so much. There's definitely more to come on this.
Well, hey there, GMA.
You know, this happens a lot with elderly people, lawyers literally rob old people using conservatorship like this. Yeah, they do.